Today I'm sharing with you my new Happy Mail for 2025, which is the Spellbinders Hot Foil Club subscription. I'm going to walk you through me learning how to use this stuff because I'm new to hot foiling, show you my real life mistakes and subsequent successes. Then I will show a card project as well as a scrapbook layout project. So let's dive in. Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty, where I create with paper and photos in artful ways. If you're new here, welcome. All of this will be news to you. And if you're a continuing viewer, welcome back. I want to give you the news and update on what is going on with subscription kits. Now, I canceled my Freckled Fawn subscription back in November, and I thought I would take a break for a while, but over the holiday something happened. And that was I found a Gemini hot foil system that goes with my Gemini 2 die cutter, and it was on massive clearance discount, so I got it for $25 instead of $150 plus for the Spellbinders hot foil system, which I would have to use a separate die cutting machine for. However, despite my system not being the Spellbinders brand, I have decided to subscribe to the Spellbinders hot foil kit. Now, these products will work just fine in the Gemini system. I really didn't think I would get into the hot foiling trend for various reasons. However, finding that machine at $25, I decided I would go for it. And even if I'm not excited about hot foiling after doing all of this, these glimmer plates from Spellbinders can be used for many other things like embossing in a regular die cut system. I'm not going to show that today, but I wanted to let you know that these products, even if you don't have a hot foiling machine, you can use them for your everyday crafting. So with all of that, if you want to watch my excitement video on finding that $25 machine, I will link you up. Otherwise, let's go ahead and dive into what these products are intended for, which is hot foiling. Now, you saw me open my kit, which comes with every month a roll of hot foil and a plate for hot foiling. This is the December kit. I decided to go ahead and sign up soon after I bought my hot foil machine. And these are the products that are included as of January 2025. This kit is $22.50, including shipping. So I do think it's a good deal, especially since I can add it to my overall crafting, even if I'm not solely hot foiling with it. I think these are pretty flexible products, so I'm excited. All right, here is my Gemini hot foil system. I believe these have been completely discontinued from the company, and that's why I found it for $25. It could have been just going out of stock at the shop that I was at, but I don't think that's the case. All right, here is me trying to remind myself how to do this, because in that video where I revealed that I got this for $25, I did walk through learning how to use it, and I thought I remembered how to use it. And when I got through my first foiling, I did not remember how to use it. So always read the instruction manual before you start using your products, because this was not the result I intended to get out of this machine. So I did find my instructions. I had to go through some piles of things before I got to that. But read your instructions, know what you're doing, and you'll get much better results. So the thing that I did absolutely wrong is that your metal needs to be touching that hot plate, because that is what transfers the foil in this hot foiling system. So I had my sandwich completely upside down, and I just blame my overconfidence and terrible memory from using this thing once a couple of months ago. But now I'm back on track, and I think I've got everything going on. What I'm worried about is using some adhesive tape on this to try and hold everything in place as I get everything aligned and put into the hot foiling system. I don't know if the heat is going to make that tape extra mucky, sticky, leak glue everywhere. I just don't know. But I'm putting it on there anyway because I'm not quite sure how to keep everything aligned so that it is in the spot where I want it to be. And I get better at this, but I don't have any hot tips for you. Another tip that I have for you is make sure that all of your plates are aligned properly, because mine slipped and popped while it was going through the machine, and I kind of freaked out. And sure enough, when it came out of my machine, I had broken off this little piece. Luckily, nothing is damage beyond usability, and I feel like I am cursed with this Gemini system because if you've been following me, you may have known I broke my Gemini at one point beyond usability. That's a whole nother video that I will link you up to. At any rate, while I've been chatting, I had success. Despite my sandwich going through slightly wrong, I had success. We're on the right track. Now I can get things going on better. So with this kind of test paper going on, I'm testing out the edge die cut that is included with this kit, and it cuts just around the outside of the floral, and it leaves kind of a little slit at the end so that you continue cutting it either off to the side or straight up, depending on what your project is calling for. You have a couple of flexible options. And so you're creating this corner piece, and you don't have to use the die with that. You can use the image solo. All right, so now you see me testing out the sentiments that go with this, and these came out beautifully. I'm very happy with the progress that I'm making on using this thing. And both of these sentiments are sparking project ideas for me, and we'll get to that. First, I just wanted to give you a little tip on how I'm planning on storing everything. I have this Ziploc bag that fits 8.5 by 11. I'm labeling it hot foil. I'm keeping all my scraps in here because these scraps are usable, and I don't have all of the stuff to show that yet, but in the future I should have. And I'm going to keep this cardstock in here, which I showed at the beginning is a hammer mill cardstock. And there's different kinds of hammer mills, so I showed the really specific one. I got this recommendation from Jennifer McGuire, and she tends to know her products, so I am using this. This is a very smooth cardstock. It's nice and white. It will fit through my printer, so it's light enough weight to do that as well. So this is going to become kind of my basic all-around cardstock at this point. I am storing my hot plates just like I store my other die sets, and I just wanted to get everything tidy before we move on to the next step. All right, the first thing I want to work on is a set of Galentine's Day cards inspired by that particular sentiment that says, "Your friendship is everything to me." And I thought that was such a sweet sentiment. So I pulled out some of my supplies, including, I think this is Wildberry cardstock from Concord and Ninth, as well as Carnation cardstock, also from Concord and Ninth. I went ahead and hot foiled one piece of the Wildberry and die cut it just to see what it looks like as a card front, because I haven't played with this set in particular before, nor these kind of larger, bolder kind of corner images. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. As I cut it apart, I really liked the negative piece that was left over, and my brain is kind of thinking on how I could use that negative piece, and then I start thinking, oh, I can mix and match colors with the negative piece. So that is where I land with this idea. So I'm going to go ahead and do most of this off camera just because I wanted to kind of focus on getting used to this whole hot foiling process, especially if you have never hot foiled before and you're curious about hot foiling. I know I've watched a lot of hot foil videos before even stepping into this whole system. So I kind of thought I knew what I was doing just based on watching, but it's different when you're actually doing. All right, so here is this second piece that I hot foiled. And the thing I'm finding difficult to do is to get all of these things aligned where you want them to be, because you can't see it. You put the hot foil plate image side up, and then you cover it up with the foil, and then you cover that up with cardstock, and you can't really see where these images are going to end up on your paper. So I'm trying to wrap my head around that whole system. As I was working on this, I realized because none of these images are going to be exactly the same when I'm cutting these pieces apart, I'm going to need to do this on top of a card front layer and trim everything down so that I have nice clean edges in the end. So with that in mind, I go ahead and work on everything, my sentiments, all of my hot foiling images. I'm making 4 cards altogether, so it's not a lot, and yet I have all of this leftover foil. And this is one of the things that I was worried about with getting into foiling, is that I need to be sure to reuse all of these leftover pieces because I hate throwing stuff away. and this is one of those things. So hopefully I can get into the habit of making sure that I use up all these leftover bits. I set all that stuff aside to focus on the cards, and I pulled out sheets of pebble cardstock, which is going to be my base. Now, I kind of intended for more of this white cardstock to show through this whole process so that it would have all of these colors going on. In the end, it didn't quite go there just because of that. What I already talked about is that getting these images to size on the cardstock and then trying to wrap my brain around getting everything sized properly onto the card, I decided to just put it down onto this card front layer, and I'm using temporary adhesive here, lining everything up, just kind of clicking it back together like puzzle pieces. Oh, here I'm showing you what the backside of the hot foiling looks like, which I don't know that I've ever seen on anybody else's video. It's kind of interesting. It looks almost watermarked. At any rate, that was an aside. Here I am temporarily tacking these down to this pre-cut card front layer, which is, I think, 4 inches by 5¼ inches. So it's a 1/4 inch smaller on each of the two sides. And I am going to go ahead and make sure everything is lining up well in order to trim off. Some of my edges were a little crooked, and when my trimmer blade goes through different layers and thicknesses of cardstock, especially teeny tiny slivers, it tends to mush instead of slice. And so I'm trying to make this behave well with my trimmer. All right, I've got everything aligned up there, and I'm going to go ahead. I used the wrong quote unquote blade at first, just the scoring blade. So I get that fixed and I'm ready to go. All right, I believe at this point I've done everything, or maybe I'm still just working. No, I'm still just working on that first card just to make sure I get all of the moving pieces figured out before I do everything, just to make sure it's all going to work in the end. So in order to get some depth and dimension, I am popping up the hot foiled side. So this is part of where I thought more of that white cardstock would show through. Pardon the background noises. My kitten is going crazy with a toy right now. Okay, I took a little bit of a break, and hopefully the kittens have calmed down. Back to this card. I am gluing this piece because this is the accent piece, and I'm going to make it flat down with the background. And I popped up the foiled piece onto thin foam tape, so it's not super dimensional. These will go through the mail plenty easily. And that foam tape in particular I get from Tailored Expressions, but there's plenty of sizes of foam tape on the market, so use whatever is your favorite. And again, I think I was saying that I was hoping more white would show through. Maybe going with the thinner foam tape wasn't quite the effect I wanted, because I wanted some of that white to peek through. And I'm trying to look at it here and see, and bending it backwards is not a good idea, but yeah, it wasn't quite the effect I was going for, but that's okay. I'm getting a hint of it, and I'm just going to go with it, because sometimes you have ideas and they don't work out exactly how you want them to, and that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it a learning experience that you can incorporate into crafting ideas for the future. All right, I am going to add my sentiment on here. I thought about doing more stuff to this card, like maybe stamping the accent piece with some kind of subtle tone-on-tone background, or giving it some textured embossing. But in the end, I decided that I just want to focus on the hot foil this time around, and we'll do something a little more next time, maybe. And I popped up my sentiment so that it can cross the different heights of the two pieces of card. So it's just popped up on the right hand side, and it's glued fat on the left hand side where it overlaps that popped up piece over there. And then my card front gets glued onto my card base, and that is, oh, I was going to say it's ready to go, but I forgot I am adding just a little bit of accents, since these came in my package as a little thank you gift for being a new subscriber to their kits. I am going to add a couple of these gems, and I'm just going to place 3 of them because there's a lot of shine going on already. I don't want to detract from the foiling, so I'm just going to place these 3 pieces into kind of a visual triangle, and that is how I often finish off embellishments on a card. And here is a little bit of a close-up view of this single card, and yes, it opens up like a card. But here is the complete set of all 4 cards, and I like the mix and match of the 2 colors. All right, now let's look at a scrapbook layout. This is not going to be a whole process video, so don't worry about that. I'm going to focus on the foiled portions. And this was all inspired by that sentiment that says forever yours. And while my husband and I aren't super lovey-dovey or anything, we've been married for 30 years, so I liked that little phrase and I thought it went well with this particular photo. And all of my supplies here are from my counterfeit kit, which I do at the beginning of every month for scrapbooking. And if you don't know about that, I will link you up to that video so you can check that out. So I want to focus on this piece of foiling, which I did at the very beginning of this video, which was mostly a test piece. But like I think I said already, I don't really like throwing things away, so I always try to come up with ways to use these bits. I did trim that down, so I've got the most perfect portion of it. Because it was a test piece, I didn't have everything, lined up exactly. So with this trimmed down piece, I'm going to trim it down further to create some borders for my photo. And this is why I like this particular style of paper trimmer. I know everybody has a favorite, but this is why I like this one. These slide style blades allow you to line up papers both with the grid lines on the trimmer and with the mark line on the blade itself. Right in front of where I'm looking at it, there is a line that shows you exactly where that blade is going to stop on the paper. And when I'm looking at it in this orientation, I find it is very accurate. So I'm lining it up at 1 inch everywhere and I'm sliding it over. Here I'm doing a little bit of math so that it will stop at 1 inch from the edge as well. And this is going to create my 2 pieces. And when you see me open this up and pull it out, you can see how really closely all of those measurements aligned together. All right, so now I have these 2 pieces, which I'm going to create borders with. At this point, I'm not exactly sure how I want to use them, but there's a lot of kind of negative space in my photos that I figured those borders could fill in some space or some detail or, kind of take the attention away from the negative spaces. So I am playing with the pieces here, trying to decide how I want them to sit on my project. And then this piece is just too big to go up in that top negative space, and it fits nicely down here in the bottom negative space. And then you'll see in a moment when I get to that more edge looking piece, it looks more like a border that has been cut apart. It really frames off the edge of the photo very nicely, even though it's not covering up the negative space. It frames it off nicely, and it definitely wouldn't have been able to go over that space because some of it would have landed on my face, which is not a good thing to do to a photo. All right, now this piece was my total failed first attempt at remembering how to hot foil at the very, very beginning, but it has some interesting texture to it because it created more of a very debossed image rather than a completely foiled image. So I'm going to cut apart pieces, and as I'm working on getting my title to kind of stand out a little bit more on this layout, up in the upper left-hand corner, I placed some of those cut out pieces and starting some embellishment clustering up there. And that is the plan for this layout. So that's mostly what I'm going to show you on camera. I'm going to complete the rest of this layout off camera, and then I will come back and show you the final look at this. All right, so here we are with the finished layout. I do have that gold foiling, hot foiling as my border pieces. I've got my title on there, and I fussy cut like 3 sprigs of leaves from the other bit of leftovers, and then just a little hidden pocket, very hidden, a little pocket with my journaling on it, and that completes this layout. All right, I hope you enjoyed seeing my new crafty Happy Mail, getting going with hot foiling and doing a couple of projects. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them below because I do answer everybody's messages. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, have an artful day.